So did the Harvard Law School teach you something extra? Because you say that law in action is very different from law in textbooks.
Yes, it did, because Harvard Law School really taught me very significantly the policy-oriented approach to law. The critical legal studies movement was just gaining ground at Harvard. Incidentally, I learned about a great deal about policy as a student of economics at Delhi University, and then also at the Campus Law Center in Delhi. We had great teachers like Upendra Bakshi, Lautika Sarkar, Shivramaya, who taught law and poverty. In fact, Lautika Sarkar gave us the first groundings in feminist jurisprudence, when people were not talking about feminism in our law at that time in the 1980s. But going to Harvard, I think I really profited very greatly by learning about the critical legal studies movement, which is now par for the course. Critical race theory, for instance, is very, very widely researched and spoken about. So going to Harvard in that sense was completely a different experience. But if you ask me what impact Harvard had immediately after I returned to practice, I have to confess that it's not that because you study at Harvard Law School that you'll get a little higher fee as a young lawyer. You are still at the bottom of the ladder. You are competing with everyone else who is at the same platform, namely a 1-year or 2-year-old lawyer at the bar. I realized to my disappointment in those days that when I got my first brief as a young lawyer in the Bombay High Court, I was fresh out of Harvard Law School. I had an SJD from Harvard Law School, which is the Doctorate in Juridical Sciences. And my first brief, which was a little docket to mention before a division bench of the Bombay High Court, I was given this docket. So I asked the solicitor, how much do I mark on the docket? I mean, in the sense, what is my fee? Fees in Bombay in those days were marked in GMs, which is gold mohurs. And, one gold mohur was 15 rupees. I believe the Calcutta GM was 16 rupees. So the solicitor looked at me and said, for this particular work which you are doing in the court for me, the ordinary fee would be 5 GMs, which would be 75 rupees. But since you are first appearing before the High Court, I will give you 6 guineas for this case. So I realized that notwithstanding a Harvard PhD, what I could mark in those days was about 75 rupees or 90 rupees in the mid-80s. So, well, life teaches you so many good lessons, and you realize that, a good academic degree is important, but it's not everything in itself when you actually join the profession. But Harvard actually benefited me as time went on, because the learning lessons which I received from Harvard, I was a student of Professor Lawrence Tribe, one of the greatest constitutional law scholars. And when I became a judge and started writing about the law and not just speaking about the law as lawyers do in my judgments, I realized what an imperceptible impact Harvard had on my way of thought as an individual. So a lot of things are not so perceptible when you first join the profession, but the impact of what you've learned emerges later on in life as life goes on.